If you're in a new house for the first time, you are a special guest. Hallelujah. So let's just clap for them and celebrate them. Celebrate them, celebrate them. Glory to God. When God gave us a word for the month of May, I was wondering that the month of May is still the 5th month. I was expecting a word like the season of grace. But God said to us, in the month of May is a month of victory. Let someone shout victory. When he gave that word, I couldn't understand what has victory got to do with the month of May. But I'm here to announce to someone that someone is about to win. I said one more time, I said, victory has come for someone. As I was meditating that, Lord, okay, what will I speak on victory? So many things was flashing in my mind, and scriptures were moving around, and I came across some thoughts by a great poet, William Shakespeare. Amen. And I saw a word. He said, came, I saw, and I overcame. And something was boiling in my heart. I was excited. Then I came across another one. He says, neither is either victory or else a grave. I said, that is a do or die. Poetic from Shakespeare. And I was still wondering. Then I saw another one from the same man. So I couldn't link all of them together. He says, to whom victory is the one that the will of God is on. Then I was confused. Is it do or die, or is it the will of God? As I was still meditating, then some along the line, my thoughts, I just remember the day that I went out with the family, went to an arcade game. And there they bought, you buy a coin, and they were playing games. Suddenly at a time, they beckoned on me, Daddy come. So I was wondering, this one you must join us. So I got to this interesting game. And the game was about winning. And in the game, they had different squares. And it's like an enemy will pop up. Then you will crush it, you know. So as you smash it, it will go down. But it will pop up here. So you will know where it will pop up. So, but it was supposed to be one-on-one with the game, but they needed help. So we became 6 hands. Because we must win. They threw their coin, and so I joined them. An enemy will come up here, pa. We kept, the next thing I had Pam, the time was over. Yet, there was still a new enemy standing. I said, but we did very well. We were very active. But one thing I discovered that as we're killing one, an opponent was jumping up from somewhere else. So we paid again for an extra one because we said, this one, we must win. We've learned from the first one. So we went on the next one, and we went, pa. At the end of the day, there was still, we were better, but there was still an enemy standing. I learned something from that game. That even though the definition of victory is an act of defeating an enemy or opponent in either a game or a contest, I discovered that victory is not an act, it's a journey. It's a journey that starts and it continues. From one victory, you will face an opponent. So it's not about how many you have knocked down, because at the end of time, there will still be one standing. It's how faithful are you in the journey. Someone, I'm announcing to you, you are enrolling in the journey of victory. That day, I understood that it's not just about winning or losing. It's what road path is your journey? Are you on a journey of success or a journey of failure? Where is the journey leading you? As that experience blown in my mind, I said, let me link it to the scriptures. Then I remembered Elisha and Elijah. Elisha wanted double portion of the anointing of Elijah. And he was faithful. And he said, this victory I'll give you, but it will cost you something. Only if you will go with me on a journey. Because the destination was that there was going to be a rapture or ascending of Elijah to heaven with a chariot, which they didn't know. It had never happened before. And a mantle was to be dropped on Elisha. But he had to go on a journey. So let's go to the scriptures. I will show you something in this journey. Glory to God. Is someone excited? I mean, are you excited? Are you ready? 2 Kings, chapter 2, from verse 1. Because of time, the media will be following as the scripture is going. From verse 1, it spoke to him that they got to a place, and he said, "You've been faithful following me, but I think you are okay here." They called that place Gilgal. He said, "Why should I stop here?" I said, "Because this place is a place of remembrance. It's a place of victory." This was the place when God opened Jordan and the Israelites walked through. And as they walked through, it was a mighty miracle. He told them, "Pick stones from this place." And these stones picked 12 stones. It will be a symbol for the tribe of Israel and for everyone of them to remember that a day our fathers encountered the hand of God. So they now went out of Jordan and went to a place called Gilgal. He said, "There put the stones and make an altar for remembrance that for generations to come." So when Elijah told him, "I know you are looking for miracles. Stay on this altar called Gilgal, where God performed an impossible miracle, where the stones that were beneath the waters is a symbol of the parting of Jordan." Elisha said, "Yes, wonderful. I'm glad because God had moved before. He had had victories. But I'm not ready to stand and wait on the victories of the past. You are going somewhere, I want to go where you are going. They have won, but I want to see the next move." I'm saying to someone, God has done great things in your life before. Don't sit in Gilgal. There's a new place for you. There's a new giant to overcome. So he said, "Let's go." And he followed him. And he said, the next place we're going is called Bethel. Wonderful. Bethel was a place where Jacob slept. And God opened the heavens. And angels was coming down and going up. By the time he woke up, he said, "Wow, I never knew that God himself was visiting us here." It was a place of visitation. So he said, "Build an altar here. Let it be known that God is still visiting men." I know someone here, you've had encounters with God that you can never forget. God has shown up to you in mighty ways that is still in your archives. That God, I've met with God. But when Elijah had an encounter with God, he was glad. But he said, "Yes, God had moved before, has visited, but I want to see a new visitation. I want to experience a new encounter." I say one more time to someone here, after today, God will visit you one more time. There are things in the life of Jacob at that time. It looked as if he was alone. It looked as if nothing was working. It looked as if everything was against him. Each other was running. But after that encounter, he knew, if God be for me, no man can be against me. But yet, Elijah refused to settle. He said, "No, I've won a victory. I want to win another one." That was his next step. They moved from Bethel. He said, "I won't settle in Bethel." He said, "The next place I'll take you take you to a bigger place, Jericho. So they went to Jericho together. Jericho was the place where Joshua took the children of God to march around the wall. But in history says that was the biggest wall in that time and the first fortified city that no one could break. But they went around that wall 6 days once. On the seventh day, they went 7 times and gave a shout to heaven. And that mighty wall came down. It's still a memorial till today. The day that wall of Jericho fell. I speak to someone, every strong city standing against your promised land, I decree they will fall in Jesus' name. Because that wall was the barrier between them and fulfilling the promise of God. God has said to them, I will take you to a city called the promised land with milk and honey flowing. They were expected, but they could not go until that wall came down. Every wall standing against the promise of God for your life. Any wall that is making you go roundabout on the same spot, I decree in the name of Jesus, that wall will come down. Yet, it was fantastic. Elisha said, I still want to follow. I know what God has done in the past. I know that he has moved mightily, but I still want to follow. Then he told him, now follow me to Jordan. At this time, Elijah had realized something. That all the places he took him to were places that God had moved before. And he wasn't satisfied with before. Say, I'm not satisfied with before. Say it boldly. Yes, he's been good. Say, I'm not satisfied. Say, I want more. When he took him to Jordan, this time, he changed the system. Say, the first place I took you to was when they crossed Jordan as a memorial. Now, I will show you that the miracle that they saw, you will see. So when he got to Jordan, he didn't give him a historical encounter. He struck the Jordan and he parted again. I'm saying to someone, God will do it again for you. I said, God will do it again. If he has done it before, he will do it what? Say it, he will do it again. Say it as if you mean it. At that point, he said, yes. Yes. Enough of talking. Let us see and taste of this great God. At that point in Jordan, Jordan stood as a spot of a turnaround. Yes, he had been winning and winning, but at this time, things changed. He looked at Elisha. He said, what exactly do you want? What do you want from me? Then he answered him, I want a double portion of your anointing. Say, I want more. He overcame in Gilgal. That was a test. That was a test. He won that victory. He went again to Bethel. He overcame. There were temptations there. It was good, but not the will of God. Many times, there are battles you fight, they look good, but not the will of God. But he won. He followed to Jordan, to Jericho. But at Jordan, he said, here, you have reached the place. What was the difference? And what was Elijah trying to show? He went to test, Elijah, are you after the victory or the journey? Shall I say it again? What are you really after? Is it the victory or the journey? Because, people of God, in that journey was a meeting of the chariot of fire. The journey was not about who wins, but was to meet with the one that begins and ends all things. He saw that he is not after victory, he's after someone. If you see that person, you will have what you want. But on that day, he saw the chariot of fire. And suddenly, the mantle was released upon him. I pray for someone today. You will encounter God for yourself. I say it one more time. That prayer that you have been praying, that desire of your heart, beyond success, beyond victory, you will encounter the source of all victory. His name is called Jesus. If you know that name, call that name loud and clear. Call that name loud and clear. So I saw in the life of Elisha that victory was a journey. It was what? You begin to walk that your journey today. I said your journey of success. You begin to walk in it. So as I saw, then the next thing I said, how do you maintain consistency in victory? So I'll give you just three. I'll give you only three today. Because today is just the beginning of the theme. Hallelujah. I'll give you the first one. And I'll use Apostle Paul to show you what maintains success and maintains victory. Number one is a word called humility. If you want to win every time, be humble. Tell your neighbor, say, be humble. If you want to remain a winner, say, be humble. Say it one more time. Success will contest with that. It will do what? So I'll read from scriptures. You will see how humility keeps you winning. Let's look at Philippians 3, verse 12. Philippians 3, verse 12. I'm reading from the Amplified Version. The Amplified Version. This was Apostle Paul, the man that wrote most of the books in a huge part of the New Testament, Acts and all that. There was no one that could compare with him in the knowledge of revelation that he had in Christ. He visited the Romans, the Corinthians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. The Hebrews, he was opening doors that no one could see. But here he says, in the midst of all his success and his breakthroughs in the Amplified, he says, not that I have now attained. I'm successful, but I have not reached there yet. This ideal, or I have already been made perfect. I'm a teacher, but yet there's still a working on the inside of me. He got to a place he understood. What keeps me moving forward, what keeps me expanding, what keeps me winning is because I'm on a journey of success. I have not made it yet. I have not yet arrived. Glory to God. Tell someone I'm on a journey. Say it one more time. So Apostle Paul spoke and showed us humility. Humility. Not yet perfect. I'm not a man without fault. I can't point my hand on people and say, see her, see him. It's a sinner. See. Because the other 8 is facing me. So he acknowledged one thing. I'm a work in progress. I've won many battles, but I still need help to win the new ones. He said, but I press. The next thing, if you want to be a winner all the time, it's a growth plan. Growth plan. Say, you must grow. Even when you get to the pinnacle of the mountain, give me one more mountain. Hallelujah. There's always a mountain to climb. And there's always need of capacity building and expanding. No matter how wise, knowledgeable you are, there's still some things you need to know. Oh, if you have knowledge with the great and mighty, please check some street guys and learn some other tricks. Amen. Always have a quest to learn. So Apostle Paul says, even though I'm the one writing all the books, but yet I press on. I know the sacrifice I pay to get here, but I will not leave them. I will continue. If it was hard work, I continue. If it was faithfulness, I continue. If it was whatever it is, I will do what? Say press on. Say it one more time. Say it one more time. Shout it one more time. Many times we think that we are with all wisdom. Whatever you are doing that is working for you, if you stop to do it, it will not work again. Shall I say it again? Whatever you were doing that was working for you, if you stop to do it, it will stop to work. So Apostle Paul understood, I must be steadfast. I must do what? Let me read verse 14. 3 Peter 3:14 in the same Amplified. It says, I press on towards the goal to win the supreme and heavenly prize, to which God in Christ Jesus is calling us upward. He pressed on. He kept pushing towards the goal. And his goal that was driving him was not for things, was for a person. He wasn't being pushed for things. Say, I push for Christ. Is there anyone here that is ready to push for Christ? That the reason why you are doing what you are doing is that Jesus be glorified. Hallelujah. It says, I push because I know at the end there's a city. It's called a new city. It's called the city of Jerusalem. It's in the heavens. And I know that everything I'm doing is for to win that prize. Is your victory keeping you on the track of heaven? Until your winning is in line with heaven, you stop to win. Apostle Paul says, I will not win if I'm not going to heaven. There are things that you will win and you will lose salvation. There are victories that men will clap for you and your name will be deleted. But Apostle Paul aligned his pursuit of victory in the path of the road of heaven. Tell someone, I'm pressing on. Say it one more time. The third one I will give, I call it self-examination. Say, examine yourself. Say it one more time. Say it boldly. In that same Philippians 3, verse 13, it says something here. Philippians 3:13 says, brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind. I count not myself to have apprehended. I have examined myself. Things men can't see, I can see it. I can deceive others, but I can't deceive myself. In the part of his journey, he checked himself. Am I the same man that started this journey? Or is there a new man? That question, most times, is the wives that can tell the man. Hallelujah. He says that I check myself and I correct. and align. Why? Let's read on. Say, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto things which are before. Say, I press forward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ. He was pressing, checking himself. Why? Because of the mark. And that mark is a person. And that person is called Jesus. Until you recognize that at the end of the journey, there is someone and there's something called the high calling. As you are going a mountain, let heaven and let Christ be the center. I'm believing God today that you win Christ. Oh, I believe God for someone today that the ultimate victory any man can ever have on earth is not a contract. It's to win a person, to win the heart of a person. His name is called Jesus. When you win him, you win everything. When you have him, you have all. All eyes closed, please. I want to introduce this person to you. His name is Jesus Christ. He's the author and the finisher of faith. Without him, we can do nothing. His name is victory. Bible says greater is he. When it comes to your heart, Bible says greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And the great one in you will put you over all. As many obstacles, you will always win. Because you have won Christ. So if you are here and you are yet to have an encounter with this person called Jesus Christ, the high calling, I want you to just pray this short prayer with me. First of all, put your right hand on your chest. Because your heart is where he dwells. He doesn't dwell in the mind of men. He dwells in the hearts of men. Just put your hand on your heart and say, Lord Jesus, this is my heart. Today, I surrender my heart to you. Come into this heart and be my Lord and my Savior. Forgive me of all my sin. Wash me completely in your blood. Make me brand new. Thank you for hearing me. And thank you for saving me. In the mighty, mighty name of Jesus. I have a good news for someone here. If you have prayed that prayer, either you are on site or online, something miraculous has happened in your life. You are now on the highway of victory. And I decree you will never lose again. You will move from one level of victory to another. So if you are online, please send me a message on the WhatsApp number or email and say, I gave my life to Christ. But if you are on site, if you are here, you pray that prayer,